Awesome. Brian, thanks so much for making time to hang with us and just talk about life and transition. And we just appreciate you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. My name is Brian Kellerman. I am the CEO and a founding partner of a little event management agency called Go Gather here based in North San Diego County. And we've been around since 2008. And so always working and partnering with our clients to help produce, meaningful and effective events. And like everybody, I think through the COVID and through the pandemic, our business has really changed and really had to shift and pivot and sort of re-examine, what it is we're doing and how we are of value to our clients, but also how we sort of take meaning and purpose out of our own careers. So that's a little bit about me. I'm a father of 5. The 5th is what we'd like to call our lockdown kids. So we had nothing but surprises all the way through COVID. As soon as we found out, our lives were going to change as far as the business goes, we found out our lives were really going to change as far as our kids went. But no, he's here. He's well. He was born back in November, and wouldn't have it any other way. It's been a wild and crazy ride.
What an incredible ride. Brian, you said something I think is so important. Why is it important to, and we're going to kind of frame it around this, why is it important to always be re-examining your business model, your business? Because you said that, we had to re-examine when this thing happened. And I wonder if the lesson we learned from this is the importance of a lifestyle of re-examining, so that we're always ahead of things and paying attention to things versus getting caught by them. Talk to us about why it's important to re-examine.
It's extremely important. I mean, for us and for me personally, it was a matter of, I went into this, I started a business that was specifically about getting people together. I mean, it's right there in the name, Go Gather. And so as the pandemic came about and we started to realize the world was really going to change, it was sort of much easier for us to just sit with those blinders on and go, no, our business is about getting people together, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to focus on that. I think a lot of people, when they're faced with adversity, they go back to sort of what they know and what they're comfortable with. And that was certainly a temptation for us, but we constantly had to kind of go back and, you had a lot of information coming in from every which direction, whether that's, the media or your family, your friends, even your clients. We had some clients saying, hey, we'll never do something like this again. We had others going, no, absolutely, this won't affect us in the least bit. Right. So it was hugely important for us to constantly re-examine the business, even the structure of the business. We were thankfully already a virtual business. The nature of our business was such that sort of our staff and our people were spread really throughout the country. But even then, examining our ability to keep those people on and keep those people busy, and whether or not they needed to start looking for different opportunities and different types of work, which were all really hard, things to think about and examine. But in doing so, we were able to sort of identify, okay, we know how to do this. We know how to do virtual events. We know how to really affect change within business and people's lives by gathering people. We're just not going to be able to do it in the same way that we used to. So how do we leverage the tools that are out there? How do we leverage, the behaviors and the best practices that we know, and really continue to connect people, but now virtually? And so that's a very long answer to your question, but yeah, that re-examination, it wasn't, overnight either, right? It wasn't one day we said, oh yeah, virtual events, that's what we're going to do now.
Right.
It took a while to get there. It's a lot of steps for sure.
It's a good segue to the next part of this question, which is, because I think a lot of people go, we say, why is this important? And then people often go, I don't know how to do it, or I can't do it, and so we get into this, how am I going to encourage you to do it? But you said 2 things that I want to call out, because I think it's important for people to remember in the process of, how do I re-examine? Well, first of all, what do you know? And what tools are available to you? And I think that's part of the re-examining process, is saying, hey, what do I know to be true? And then what tools are available for me to be successful? And I think those two things are so important. And talk a little bit about how do you re-examine?
I think the first thing that we do, and to your point, it's that idea that, what do I know, and how do I apply what I know, and getting rid of, I talked a little bit about that, the self-doubt, the doubt of, hey, what I do is I plan events. I'm an event planner. I get people together, in person, and that sort of thing. And then you always have that doubt creep in. As soon as you start to re-examine, and that answer comes back to, hey, that's not happening anymore, and we don't know when that's going to come back, you immediately, that doubt, at least even for me, kicked in. I mean, this is something I've done for 20 plus years, and I immediately thought, oh, maybe it's time to do something else. And I started to doubt even what I knew. And there again, recognizing what are the things that are, these perceived problems that I have, rather than actual problems. And like you said, I begin to even doubt myself, rather than looking at, this is what I know, these are the tools that are available to me, and this is how I take advantage of those things and move forward in my career, and still adjust. It's not going to be exactly what it was, but it's still something, that is rewarding, that provides me with a sense of value and a sense of accomplishment, for sure. And
I think if you take a step back and you say, what do I know? What tools do I have available to me? And you apply all of that energy into that versus apply all that energy into self-doubt. Because, for all of us, we have this sum of energy. And it's full of hope and dreams and fears and doubts. It's just like this big ball of energy. And we get to decide where we apply that. And I think when we apply it to forward-thinking, progress-oriented things, amazing opportunities happen. And it's always funny, it's the old saying of, why do police officers kind of block their car? Because you see it and you start, whatever you look at, you start veering towards. So you see a car on the side and you're looking at it, next thing you know, boom. And I think we steer towards what we see and stare at. And so in this case, it's like, man, stare at what you know, stare at those tools that are available to you, versus staring at the self-doubt and the worst case scenarios. If you were going to give somebody one bit of encouragement and inspiration and just say, hey, we know we always need to be re-examining. This is part of how we grow. We need to think about the tools, what we know and the tools available to us. And if I'm sitting there going, Brian, give me one piece of encouragement, I'm gonna do it, man. But give me some good advice, coach. Give me some encouragement.
Right. I go back to that age old saying, it's the journey of 1,000 miles or 1,000,000 miles or whatever it is. It's just taking that first step, right? It's recognizing that you might be overwhelmed, you might be doubting yourself, your thinking may be limited, but it just takes the start, right? Just get going. Don't allow yourself to be frozen in fear or overwhelmed. Go out, do that research, find out what it is, and your first time doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, we've seen that in virtual events. If we think back to, even the beginning of all of this in 2020, and some of the funny things that were happening with just people even having conferences at home, and children running in and interrupting, or lawyers having a cat filter on, and that sort of thing. People make mistakes, people get over those mistakes, people understand that, and I don't think anybody's as harsh a critic on others as they are on themselves, for sure. And so, as you adjust, and that goes, I guess, for any career, as you pivot, just know that taking those first few steps are key. And then things do get easier as you go on, as you learn, as you gain experience.
Yeah. So listen, I would just encourage folks that are listening to this, that no matter where you are in the business ecosystem, relentlessly re-examine. And when you do begin to re-examine, remember what you know, because you know way more than you remember. You know way more than you remember at the moment. So do the work, look at the tools that are available to you, and take a step, take the first step. So Brian, thank you so much. And we know that we've got content associated with this, and people are going to be able to read more about some of your thoughts and just grow more as they launch themselves. But man, thanks for just taking time out of your day to share the journey you've gone through and challenge and inspire us to take our own.
My pleasure, Josh. Look forward to speaking with you more.
Thanks, man.